Hi, I'm going to be talking about the theorist Dr. William Glasser today. And a little background on him is that he was born on May 11th, 1925 in Cleveland, Ohio, and he passed away on August 13th, 2013. So he is a more recent theorist and introduced a lot of theories in our education world that are more relevant to today's society. So he attended Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, where he initially went to school for chemical engineering, but quickly realized that it was not his passion, so he began studying clinical psychology, where he earned a bachelor's, a master's, and finally received his doctorate in psychiatry in 1953. He completed his psychiatric training at UCLA and the Veterans Administration Center from 1954 to 1957, and he had a private practice in Los Angeles from 1956 to 1986. And it was during those years, especially the 1970s, where he became familiar with control theory systems, and he did that through the writings of William T. Powers, who was a popular scientist at the time. And in reading Powers' writings and learning about those control theory systems, he was able to develop his reality therapy and choice theory. So Dr. Glasser, throughout his private practice years, expanded his career to lecturing and writing. And during those years, he published over 20 books. I'm going to focus on three that are extremely relevant in the educational world. He published Reality Therapy in 1965, and this became a bestseller and drew national attention. And counselors became extremely interested in this book because of its outlook on behaviors and how to address behaviors and things like that. And it was a new approach, so it drew a lot of interest and attention. And in 1967, Glasser founded the Institute for Reality Therapy. In 1969, Glasser wrote his first book about education, and it was called Schools Without Failure. And this led to additional publications and series about schools. So he ended up writing more about schools. And the Glasser Quality School movement involvement began after he published this book. He ended up experiencing extreme success with reality therapy, which led to choice theory in 1998 being published. And an interesting fact that I read was that over 90,000 people in the world have taken intensive trainings to learn how to apply his ideas in their lives, both professionally and personally. That's absolutely amazing, and it shows that his theories and reality therapy really had an impact on people, and people wanted to learn how to apply them in their lives. So, his inspiration for choice theory. His clinical practice led him to develop these theories, and he realized that people were extremely unhappy with their lives and relationships. He emphasized that humans naturally feel the need to control situations. So humans force behaviors, and we are genetically driven by a need for power. So we choose to behave destructively, and these destructive behaviors are choices. So he theorized that humans try to force one another to do what we want others to do by using external control psychology. So we see this all the time in classrooms. So say Tessa wants to be friends with Megan, she is going to try to do whatever it takes and force Megan to be friends with her. Happens all the time. And we see that, but you don't recognize that it's happening because it's just how our genetics are made up, and it just seems natural, but it's not actually normal. So Glasser claimed that we needed to learn to satisfy our power by respecting one another. And he said that if we fail to do this as a human body, our days on earth are going to be limited. So he devoted the rest of his life to replacing external control with choice theory and teaching these ideas to others. So one quote that I saw that was very important in understanding choice theory was that we choose everything we do, including the misery we feel. So this emphasized that we really are in control of every single thing we do. Even when we feel miserable, we're in control of that. We are the ones who can change that. And that was interesting to me. So choice theory. It's the universal system for empowering individuals and improving relationships. And it's based on the premise that every individual only has the power to control themselves and has limited power to control others. So it promotes taking responsibility for one's own life and not directing others' lives. So the goals of choice theory are to reduce the frequency and intensity of negative behaviors, to strengthen relationships, increase life satisfaction, and if we do all of the things that choice theory says, then these things can happen. But it is important to note that in this theory, Glasser rejects the disease model of mental illness unless an individual clearly has a pathological brain lesion. So he states that depression, sadness, all of those things, those are a choice unless someone clearly has a brain lesion. So this quote from Glasser, "It is impossible for anyone, even the most effective among us, to continue to choose misery after becoming aware that it is a choice." So again, misery is a choice. We choose to be miserable as humans. It is our job to take that and flip it to happiness, and it's our choice to partake in behaviors that make us happy. So that's part of the choice theory. Okay, but how? So the concepts of choice theory, we have to meet 5 basic needs: love and belonging, power, fun, survival, and freedom. So same goes with students in a classroom. They have to feel a sense of love and belonging. They have to feel power, so they have to feel like they're achieving things. They have to feel like they're meeting certain skills. They have to feel like they're succeeding. They have to have fun. They have to feel like they're in a safe environment, so that's part of that survival. They have to feel freedom. They have to feel like they have choice. So when they feel these needs met, then they're going to behave appropriately. But if they don't feel those needs met, they're going to behave negatively to try and meet those needs. So we see this with students. I'll talk about choice theory and reality therapy in the classroom later in this presentation, but that's how I see basic needs and choice theory right now in the classroom. But everyone needs to have these 5 basic needs met. So the 10 axioms of choice theory: 1, the only person whose behavior you can control is our own. 2, all we can give or get from our other people is information. 3, all long-lasting psychological problems are relationship problems. That is a very important one that a lot of articles emphasize. 4, the problem relationship is always part of our present lives. 5, what happened in the past that was painful has a great deal to do with what we are today, but revisiting this painful past can contribute little or nothing to what we need to do now. Improve an important present relationship. This is another huge part of choice theory. Move on. Move past whatever happened. You can't keep living in the past. 6, we are driven by 5 genetic needs: survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun. 7, we can satisfy these needs only by satisfying a picture or pictures in our quality worlds. 8, all we can do from birth to death is behave. All behavior is total behavior and is made up of 4 inseparable components: acting, thinking, feeling, and physiology. 9, all total behavior is designated by verbs, usually infinitives and gerunds, and named by the component that is most recognizable. 10, all total behavior is chosen, but we have direct control over only the acting and thinking components. So these things are huge with choice theory, especially about living in the past and relationship problems. Glasser is huge on those things. We have to move on, and our problems stem from issues with other people and our inability to connect. So that leads us into this idea of our quality world versus our perceived world. So our quality world is the place where we store pictures of everything we want. So important people, places, things, pretty much it's everything that makes us feel good. And at least one of our basic needs is met if something is there. And it's unique to each person because it's what our perfect life would be like. Our perceived world is what our perceptual system allows us to experience in the real world. So it's what everything goes through our 5 senses and then passes through that perceptual system. And it starts with our total knowledge filter, and it represents everything you know or have experienced. So that means that it's different for everyone because it's based on perception. And it means it's our reality, so it's subject to change, it's inaccurate but seems accurate to you, and it's subjective to your family, your culture, your education, your age, your beliefs. So it's unique to you. So your comparing place is part of choice theory, and it's the place where you are constantly comparing your quality world and your perceived world because it's what you want versus what you have. You feel good when they match, and you're frustrated when they don't. Choice theory places comparing place on a set of scales. When they're in balance, you have what you want and continue behaviors to keep it. Out of balance, you don't have what you want and search for behaviors that will get you what you want. That is choice theory, and those things all combine and create it. Reality theory in therapy is created from those principles, and the purpose is to have individuals make decisions that will help them meet those basic human needs. Like I said, he didn't believe in mental illness, and he thought problems stem from unfulfilled goals. And this focuses on the present rather than the past. And this reality therapy is extremely focused on client-therapist relationships because they can model other relationships in the client's life. And it recognized that disconnect between people cause problems, and the therapist can create positive interpersonal relationships. This was a problem-solving approach, which we want to do with our students in class. Assess ineffective current behaviors, determine objectives, take responsibility for actions, make a commitment to change, work on changing behaviors, all things we try and do with our students, or try to teach them. So, quote from William Glasser, "What happened in the past was painful has a great deal to do with what we are today, but revisiting this painful past can contribute little or nothing to what we need to do now. The past is the past. We need to move on, we need to move forward because that does not define who we are. And we need to teach that to our students. It's our job as educators to show our students that what they did yesterday does not define them. What they did a month ago does not define them. It's what they choose to do now." So, another quote, "When you study great teachers, you will learn much more from their caring and hard work than from their style." So, I looked at this choice and reality theory in the classroom as two ways. So how to implement it in the classroom, and then how to attack a student with bad behavior. So students need to know that they are in control of their learning and behavior. And this means that they make their own decisions. They need to take ownership and responsibility of their learning. They also can only control their own behavior, not their peers or their teachers. Teachers want to make sure that students' needs are being satisfied in the classroom. Well, at least good teachers do. That should be a goal of ours. Learning increases and disruption decreases when students connect, feel power, have freedom, and enjoy themselves in a safe learning environment. So 3 characteristics that I wanted to touch on in a choice theory classroom, so this is one way I wanted to go about discussing it in the classroom, is that coercion is minimized. So rather than trying to make students behave with rewards and punishments, try and build positive relationships with them. It inspires them. 2, quality is the focus. Focus on deep learning. 3, students routinely self-evaluate. That will give them the ownership of their learning. You want them to be responsible. That will give them, okay, I need to do this. Okay, here's how I should behave to achieve this. It's all about getting how they should behave to reach a goal. That will be motivating. Okay, so with a student with behavioral issues, choice and reality theory in the classroom in 8 steps for behavioral issues if a student is misbehaving. So the first step, build a positive relationship with the student. Again, that's so important. 2, focus on the current behaviors, why they're wrong, what they're doing. 3rd, have the student accept behavior. Help them accept their responsibility for that behavior, why it's wrong. 4, student evaluates the behavior. Why what they're doing is not helping them achieve what they want. 5, develop a plan of action. Help them say, I'm going to do this from now on. 6, help the student commit to carrying out the plan. 7, student follows through on the plan and follows up with you. Help them follow up. 8, never give up on the student. So you're alongside of them this whole way. We almost always have choices, and the better the choice, the more we will be in control of our lives. William Glasser. Help students see this, that they are in control of their lives. What happened in the past doesn't define them. Their home life doesn't define them. They are in control of their lives. As educators, we need to prove that to them, that their choices are what makes them. If they made a negative choice, we need to help them make the right choice and make a plan for them to switch those negative behaviors into positive behaviors. Find a goal, motivate them, make a plan, help them. And that is what William Glasser says. Everything is in our control. And as humans, we need to make the most of that. So here are my references, and I hope you learned something.